you rock? Most people enjoy a good story. Imagine a story where you rock. I challenge you to make a difference in the world, and then share your story to inspire, bring hope and encouragement to others. Together, let us create a better, more peaceful world. Let's not just imagine world peace, let's work for it. Are you doing something rocking in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, or the world? I would love to have you on my show to share your rockin' stories. We're here with Tony Bidulka and Camp Fyrefly. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
And so tell us about Camp Fyrefly. How did it get started?
Yeah, so Camp Fyrefly Saskatchewan was kind of a dream, actually. I think it's about 10 years ago in 2007. My spouse and I had heard about this camp that was just beginning in Edmonton through the University of Alberta. And, we heard about it and we thought wow, this sounds amazing. It sounds like something that, I could have used when I was a kid. So we hopped in the car and drove to Edmonton for their camp to just see if they were actually delivering what they said they were. And we were blown away with what they were doing with camp. And so we thought, we want to make sure that Saskatchewan youth have access, and we had learned from the Edmonton people that their camp was, brimful every year. They did take kids from other provinces, but that wasn't the priority. So we started thinking, well, how can we ensure that this camp comes to Saskatchewan? Now, for those people who don't know about Camp Fyrefly, Camp Fyrefly is actually not a camp at all. I think it's probably better described as a life skills leadership retreat for sexual and gender minority youth. It runs for about 4 days, and we invite youth between the ages of 14 and 24. So we knew the need was there because the Edmonton people told us that, they got all these applications from Saskatchewan, could only take a small portion of them. About the time I was about to get married.
Okay,
and
exciting.
We thought, yeah, it was exciting. and we started thinking, well, we were older by then, and thought, well, we don't need another toaster, we don't need anything. So we told our guests that, if they were interested, they could write us a check for Camp Fyrefly. And with those monies, we were able to send a delegation of Saskatchewan youth to camp that year and then begin camp in Saskatchewan.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it really, it just shows, another great example of how giving Saskatchewan people are.
They are. Saskatchewan people are the best.
Absolutely. You tell them what the need is and they respond exuberantly.
Exactly.
So we began the camp in Saskatoon, in Saskatchewan, in 2009. So this summer we're actually having our 9th camp.
That's wonderful.
And
it shows there's a need.
It shows there's a need. We've been full every year, and over the past 8 years, we've had over 400 youth run through the camp. It's a very and again, I keep on stressing that it's not a camp because it's a pretty full 4 days for these youth. So basically what happens is that they show up on the Thursday and they are assigned to what we call pods, and each pod will have 5 to 7 youth. Then we assign a youth leader. So this will usually be an older youth who has been to camp before, has experienced some leadership training, and then we assign an adult pod leader. And then for the next 4 days, we run them through this whole program of workshops, most of them running concurrently, so they can pick and choose which ones interest them or which ones they need. There are some workshops that are for the whole group all together. And then 4 days later, Marion, I have to tell you about how the first year, in 2009, when Herb and I walked in the first day, and one of the first things that the camp coordinator does is they will, put all the kids in a round circle and ask them to introduce themselves, tell them what they want to, tell the group what they want to about their life circumstances. And on that first day, you could barely hear them. Most of the youth said nothing. Most of them just kind of stood there with their hoodies over their heads. They were scared, they were frightened, they didn't know what to expect. 4 days later, we walked into the farewell session, same room, same circle, and I could have believed that someone came in, took away those first group of 40, 50 kids and brought in a whole other set, because they were changed, some of them profoundly. And we couldn't shut them up.
Oh, that's
You know,
wonderful.
it was incredible what happens in that period of 4 days. With the workshops, we really try to focus on more than just personal and individual development. We want these youth to come into this environment where for the first time ever they feel that they are in the majority. And in that environment, in that powerful environment, something that they probably never felt before, they not only learn to realize that they are perfect the way they are, but they start developing skills, and we encourage them to then leave the camp and go into their communities and into their schools and into their families and make a difference there and to pass on what they've learned.
What they've learned, and that's so important, isn't it? And I see you have this beautiful picture, and is this, you said it was from your first?
This is from our inaugural camp in 2009, our first group of 50 youth. And what is, there's so many amazing things about this camp. As you can tell, I'm excited about it.
And that's wonderful. And you're one of the founders of it, so you should be excited.
Yes. One of the great things about that group of 50 is that a number of those campers have now returned as either volunteers, we have one of those campers sitting on our board right now, or they come back and they start becoming the workshop presenters themselves and passing on the knowledge that they've learned over the years. And that's, you know, you can't ask for better than that.
No kidding. And it's so important to build confidence in young people, and all people, but especially in young people, you know, they're looking, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what are some of the workshop topics that you might have?
Yeah, it's quite a variety. We try and focus on many different areas. There's personal development, there's education, there's the physical, there's spirituality, there's mental health. Some examples of workshops we've had is, actually I think every year, including this 9th one coming up, we've had someone from either the Saskatoon or Regina Police Service come in and do workshops on relationships of LGBT youth with the police, or bullying, or you know, how to deal with situations that are either mentally or physically abusive. We will have people come in and talk about healthy relationships. We will have spiritual guidance come in, so we'll have people from different faiths. We've had First Nation elders come in. We've had people come in and from, you know, all walks of the artistic world. We've had dancers and artists and writers come in and help youth express themselves through those forms of expression. So it's quite an intense 4 days, and probably the only complaint we've ever gotten from a youth is that it's too busy.
Too busy.
And they want, like a lot of kids, they want more free time.
Yeah.
So we certainly do build that in, time for personal reflection, time for physical activity, and fun. You know, that's important.
And it's important to develop the whole person. So I think all youth could use camps like this that would deal with these kinds of topics. And you have lots of experts coming to help you with that. Well, that is so wonderful. So how did it come up with the time?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
I see you have a beautiful little firefly.
Yes, that's
here,
a firefly right there.
Yeah, isn't that gorgeous?
So the camp, as I say, was founded originally in Edmonton, and they began in 2004. And so the first year, they gathered the youth together and they said, you know, we need to come up with a name, we need to come up with a logo. They came up with the firefly because the firefly is one of the only animals that creates its own energy source. And they thought that was a great way to describe what they wanted to do. They wanted to come to camp and get help to develop their own inner light so that they have resilience and strength when times get dark. Because a lot of these youth are going through some pretty serious things. The statistics as far as LGBT youth who have increased rates of depression, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and suicide. It's one of the reasons we knew this camp was important.
Well, it is very important in dealing with youth and giving them some skills to cope with life. And I think we all need skills for coping with life, right?
Absolutely. You know, one of the interesting things that we learned, and actually the Alberta camp now does what we created, but after the first year we realized that on the last day, the parents or guardians of the youth would come to pick them up. And as I described earlier, they're changed. And we realized the parents were going, who's this kid? And so we now run a session for the caregivers and parents on the last day.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful,
that
too.
is also one of the most powerful things, because they need to sit around a circle and tell their stories. And oftentimes they feel alone and they don't understand what's happening. And all of us need to feel like there's other people who are going through the same thing,
Like
no
we
matter what
belong.
it is, like you
Exactly.
belong.
And education is so important, and finding good groups that can support you.
Absolutely.
Well, I commend you for doing what you're doing, and
Thank you.
and I know you've been winning awards with it and all kinds of things. But I know there's a camp coming up. So when is that happening?
Yeah, so this next camp is going to be in Saskatoon, August 10th to 13th. And as I think you know, we alternate camps between Regina and Saskatoon. So this year's camp is in Saskatoon. And the applications for campers is now online at our website. That application deadline is June 16th.
Okay.
And there's also applications for anyone who wants to become a volunteer, and that deadline is June 2nd.
Okay. And you have a website or a phone number? How can people get a hold
absolutely. The best way to describe to you, we do have a website, but if people just type in Camp Fyrefly Saskatchewan, you'll find us.
And I see it's spelled a
And-
little different.
yes.
So I've noticed your beautiful T-shirt there.
Thank you. Yeah, this is, and what I love about this T-shirt, this is from a couple of years ago. I believe it says Alberta, Saskatchewan. This year, we're now expanding to Ontario.
Well, isn't that
So
wonderful?
it's growing across the country as well.
And it shows there's a need, and I'm glad that you're getting lots of support.
Thank you. Yes.
And so how can people help you?
Well, in a lot of ways. It's certainly like any other organization like this, you know, we need support financially. What a lot of people don't know is that we provide this camp for free. So aside from a $25 registration fee, the youth will pay nothing. And so we raise funds through, our, just this wonderful group of individuals, a lot of great organizations like B'nai B'rith and Teachers Federation and TD Bank and the Royal Bank. I could go on and on. So certainly going to our website, there's an easy way to donate there. You can donate your time as a volunteer. You can donate your time as a workshop presenter. We're very excited. We're going to the second year of what's called Fyrefly in schools.
Well,
So
that
we've
is
often
wonderful.
worried about that this camp is 4 days. What about the other 361? Now we have that covered.
Well, thank you very much for being on my show, and there's so much good information that you're giving here, so I suggest you go to your website and
Please.
check it out.
Thank you.
That was Tony Bidulka with Camp Fyrefly.